In 2022, we started working on the COVID-19 recovery project in Bauchi State, northern Nigeria. The project sought to understand the way COVID-19 pandemic, including lockdowns, affected individuals and households, and included people's views and experiences in designing policies to support COVID-19 recovery. SIAD-PRAM, Form 1, Ministry of Cooperatives and Small and Medium Enterprises Development, the MCS-MED, Bauchi State, and the Darazo Local Government Authority partnered on this project.
This project was about the COVID pandemic and recovery from the pandemic, and trying to see how we could make the recovery from the pandemic more equitable. The overall aim was to engage with communities, to understand their experience of the pandemic, for them to share their experience of the pandemic, and for them to co-design strategies for recovery from the pandemic, which would be strategies that really responded to the needs of the communities themselves.
We selected 9 communities to include urban, rural, and rural remote areas in 3 wards in Darazo local government area. In each community, we supported community groups to create fuzzy cognitive maps of their knowledge of what led to a bad experience during the pandemic.
An kawo mana allo da wasu tiles wanda mun yi ta faɗan matsaloli ana rubutawa muna shirya su har muka kai ga na ƙarshe. A nan ne sai muka fahimci cewar to ai matsala guda ɗaya ita take haifan kaza, ita take haifan wannan. Sai kaga matsala guda ɗaya ne amma ta haifi abu 5 zuwa sama. Misali shine kullum mutane da aka yi sakamakon corona ya sa a rufe makaranta. Makarantu da aka rufe ya sa yara zama a gida. Zama a gidan ya sa yara sace-sace. Ya sa su faɗace-faɗace, ya sa su shaye-shaye, ya sa su zinace-zinace, ya sa su abubuwa na wasannin banza wanda inda makarantar tana buɗe tana yi duk waɗannan abubuwan ba sa faruwa.
Community maps identified hunger, reduced businesses, and increased household conflicts as the 3 main bad experiences associated with the pandemic. There were slight differences between men's and women's maps. Household conflicts were a little more important for women, while reduced religious activities were a little more important for men. Information from the mapping guided the design of the questionnaire for a household survey. In February 2024, Form 1 and SIAD-PRAM trained teams, including some people from Darazo, to conduct a household survey in the 9 communities in Darazo where we undertook the mapping sessions. The team recorded responses to the electronic questionnaire on Android phones.
The field work for this particular project, we did it at Darazo local government. So we recruited, we trained, and we selected the best participants for the research at the local government area. In the field, we had to cover rural area, rural remote, rural hard to reach, and so on. These are not very easy for our physical and mental status, but however, we ensure that we do that because we need to include the vulnerable groups who are marginalized and who are unable to, get any support or even any intervention from anywhere. So we ensure that this group of people are also involved to ensure that our data is reliable, our data is original, and we do that at all the time.
Project focal points from Darazo local government area provided logistics supports on the ground.
To alhamdulillah, a matsayina na focal person duk lokacin da wannan hidima ta taso, naga shiga karamar hukuma na je na mata bayani kuma tana ba mu goyon ba 100% akan mu je mu ci gaba da hidima. Sannan bayan haka akwai lokacin da taro ta so haka mun je mun mata bayani muna da bukatan gurin da za mu yi taro, ta nema mana hayan hall sannan kuma ta nema mana hayan kujeru. Gaskiya muna samun goyon baya 100%.
We visited 1,148 households across 9 communities in Darazo LGA of Bauchi State to collect information about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And about 90% of the households reported that they did not have enough income to cover their basic needs during the pandemic. And also about 90% of the households reported that they did not have enough food to eat during the last 1 week during the pandemic. Regarding children education, about 86% of the children were not attending school during the pandemic, and the level of worry and stress was so much that before the pandemic, just 7% of the respondents reported that they felt worried a lot. But this sort arose to about 70% during the pandemic. Also, there was little or no government support, because only a small proportion of the households reported having gotten some cash or palliatives. Only about 3% of the household reported that they received government support during or after the pandemic. Relationships became worse in 1/3 of the households during the pandemic, in which as many as 20% of the households reported having at least one divorce or separation during the pandemic. One good thing is that we asked the household respondent questions on how they think their communities can act together to overcome problems. And we asked questions from a community resilience skill that has a minimum score of 12 and a maximum of 60. And the average score from the household respondents was 45. So, of course, there is room for improvement, but this relatively high score suggests that the communities are willing and able to work together to solve their problems.
Evidence-based docudramas helped share the findings from the maps and survey. We supported groups of opinion leaders, elderly and young women, and elderly and young men in 2 communities to co-design docudramas.
We supported communities to co-design docudrama. And in order to do that, the first step we took was to organize a meeting and share evidence of the findings of the household survey, as well as the fuzzy cognitive mapping with segregated groups in the communities. These groups include community leaders, service providers, male and female adults, as well as youths. In response, they discussed and produced storylines and dialogues. Some of them even volunteered and acted a role play that eventually became adopted into the drama. We took careful notes, and we developed those notes into the first draft of the drama. After the first meeting, we organized a second meeting, and we shared the script with these groups in the communities. They gave their suggestions, and we included their suggestions into the production of the docudrama. Then we collaborated with the local production team and produced a docudrama. After the production, we organized the third meeting with the communities. We shared the first cut of the drama with the groups. They gave their feedbacks, and the docudrama was finalized. All through the process of the production, our team, led by the communications coordinator, worked closely with the local production team to ensure the success of the production.
After screening of the docudramas, community group of leaders, service providers, elders and young men and women discussed the findings and discussed potential actions to tackle priority problems. We supported communities to nominate some influential and responsible people to come together in a dialogue group. The dialogue group prioritized issues and met regularly to plan and take action and delegate responsibilities to its members. All the dialogue groups in the 9 intervention communities focused on hunger as their first priority issue.
Wannan kungiya a cikin wannan tafiya da muke yi. Da muna zama, muna da ƙungiya ƙarama ce amma ƙasƙancance ne ma sosai, amma a dalilin zuwanku da Allah kawo mu a wannan lokaci, kuka kawo mana haɗin kai a ciki. Kuma sai muka ga wannan zama da muka yi da kuka ba mu wani shawarwari wanda za mu iya zama domin mu magance wa'insu matsaloli kamar zuwa matsalar da muka fuskanta da ta wuce mun a baya ta corona. Mukan ɗan zama haka nan saboda muka ga saboda mu manoma ne, kasuwanci nawa bai kai ba tukunna, sai muka ga me ya kamata mu yi, muka ce daga cikin yanayin noman da muke mu fitar da wani wuri mu samu muna noma da shi, domin in mun san in muka yi noman nan za mu iya taimakawa junanmu a tsakaninmu. Muna tattauna akan matsaloli in sun faru kamar irin rashin lafiya haka, ko an mashi aifuwa, ko kuma wani an mashi mutuwa ma, sai mu ɗauke mashi kamar irin abincin da za a iya dafawa a gidansa na wani ɗan zama, sai mu ɗauke wani nauyin gidauniya a cikin ƙungiyar nan, sai mu ce a taimaka masa da wani abu. Ko kuma wani mara lafiya sai mu samu wani kuɗi daga ciki mu ce a taimaka masa a kai masa domin ya magance wasu matsalolin, zai ɗan ji sanyi a cikin abin ɗin shi. Dalilin zuwan kuɗin nan ya ƙarfafa aka ce ana buɗe akawun, kuma akawun ana ba da tallafi. Tallafin nan ba a barwa sai da akawun.
Following their discussions, some communities decided to approach government bodies tasked with supporting COVID recovery. We arranged meetings with the dialogue group members and representatives from the Ministry of Cooperatives and Small and Medium Enterprises Development and NGCares, an emergency response program to aid COVID recovery.
Our role is to go there together with you so that we can meet the community, the dialogue groups, to know what is their problem, what the experience is as a result of COVID-19. This office was established due to COVID-19. And when we meet them, they complain to us about two things. One, the issues of capital, how they will get assistance from the government to increase their capital for businesses. Secondly, the issues of intervention in agriculture. So after collecting and interacting with them, we sensitize them and we collect their data. Quickly, we include them in our programs.
One way we evaluated how the intervention changed people was to ask them to tell a story about the change in their lives due to their participation.
Kafin zuwanku, ina yin awarana, yanzu na samu ci gaba. Na yi buɗe akawun, na yi rigista majaurana, na yi adashe tare da 'yan ƙungiyarmu, an ban naira 10,000 don ƙarin jarin awarata, to alkhairi.
We repeated the household survey after about 1 year as another way to evaluate the impact of sharing local findings and communities using them to help themselves. The analysis is ongoing, but early findings suggest important benefits, such as community resilience. This means communities are more stronger and better able to resist future challenging events.
The dialogue group started as a way to figure out what communities could do themselves to support COVID-19 recovery. They have helped the communities to act together on a range of concerns in the aftermath of the pandemic and subsequent price hike. In many of the communities, they have evolved to cover other concerns as they arise. They have become recognized as bodies that help the community to act together to solve problems and improve the situation of their members.